right, so can we talk about the mode of mixing?
So one of the things with this format that's interesting is when we describe it to somebody who hasn't heard it, they often think of it very literally. Like, oh, is it like you're sitting in the middle of the band? Or I'm on the stage and the drummer's here and the bass player's there and the singer's here? Or what is exactly this space that we're in? Is it the space that you were in when something was recorded or not? And the truth is that as mixers, our job is to create whatever is the most compelling thing that brings the person in a visceral way into the experience the quickest possible way. Oftentimes, that is not the literal version of how and where and everything was recorded. Oftentimes, we have to suspend reality and we have to create the space that this project is going to be in. And so a big part of our mode of mixing is the idea of suspending reality and just being in the moment and listening to what is coming out and where we place things in the mix and how that feels and how that is. It exciting? Is it compelling? Does it tell the story the right way? For example, one of the things between stereo and Atmos that is similar but different is in the Atmos mix, we kind of place things in the room and kind of get things settled to where we think they should be. And if something is fighting with something else, before we turn it up or down, we often move it because we have all this space. So the first thing we would do is move it to a different place. And we call these places starting places because things can fly and things can move and effects can fly. So something can stay still and effects can fly. These are all parts of our mode of mixing. Whereas in stereo, a lot of times maybe you'll move something a little bit, but oftentimes we have to EQ it differently and we have to do these other things that kind of become your first thing. Oh, that's not speaking properly. Let's see if we cut a little bit of low mid and we push it up in the mix a little bit. But in Atmos, the first thing we do is we just move it somewhere else, and often that takes care of it. And so we don't have to EQ so much in Atmos because we have so much more space. So things can be more full and have a fuller sound in Atmos. All parts of the mode of mixing in Atmos.
Nice. Interesting to me in the stereo format how if you move something a little bit to the left or a little bit to the right, how it reacts with the mix. So taking that, one dimension, left or right, into Atmos with several dimensions, I imagine that's a pretty exciting thing, that you could really shape the sound or shape the mix of the whole thing.
Yeah, and as you know, for mixing in stereo too, it's often just a feeling thing. It's like, I don't know why it's good there, but that's where it wants to be. That's where it blends or it complements another sound or the rest of the mix. It's just a feeling thing, and we are kind of approaching our mixes from the feeling that you get from it. And sometimes it's the same in the Atmos where you're just moving. It's just like it just wants to be there.
Yeah,
it just wants to.
Nice. I love that. I love the approach of from the feeling, because that's also the best approach in making music too, or
it's the whole
pretty much anything you do.
It's the whole point, right? It's the whole point.
Nice.
Yeah, what we often say is the song is the star. The song is always the star. And when you approach anything from that standpoint, when you take yourself out of it and you allow for the music to be the star, then you just follow what it tells us it wants to do and wants to be. And if you're open and you're listening and you're there to serve it, it will tell you everything that it wants. And it always ends up being the best version of itself that way.
Nice. I love that.
It'll tell you pretty quickly what it doesn't want to.
Yeah.
Right?
Probably, yes, of course. Okay, so now can you tell me how the rear and surround speakers should be mixed?
So I think in the traditional surround formats, 5.1, 7.1, and certainly in theaters and movies, the sides and rears were thought of kind of as ambience, channels with not like, so the main mix would live up front, but the rears and the sides would be ambience. And I think that we've just developed a mix style where we can have the solo coming out of the rear speakers. We can have it coming from above if that's where it wants to be. We can spread things out and use it as sound source points for the music, for the instruments, and for the sounds. And I think that's a big change in thinking. I think a lot of what we've done also is just unlearning our preconceptions about what this is. You know, you see the speakers around here, but when we're in here mixing, we're not thinking about, is it coming out of this speaker or that speaker, or as Karma said earlier, we're thinking about where in the room is it. So if the place in the room is here or behind you or in front of you, that's what we're thinking about.